Okay, so when someone says pirate, you might instantly think of those classic characters with swords and eye patches, right? But here's the deal. Modern-day pirates, like the ones from Somalia, they're a whole different breed. These guys are pulling off some audacious stunts, going head-to-head with massive naval ships. So let's get into how these pirates are stepping up to the Navy's big leagues. 10. USS Nicholas. So let me spill the beans about some wild ocean adventures that aren't ancient history, yet not too recent either, like events from around 14 years ago. In April 2010, something wild happened in the Indian Ocean. There was a mix-up where Somali pirates mistook the USS Nicholas, a US naval ship with some serious history, for a simple merchant vessel. Crazy, right? But hold up, it gets even crazier. The USS Nicholas wasn't about to let them have their way. It quickly dealt with the pirates' small boat and caught 3 of them just like that. And guess what? They found more pirates on a bigger ship close by. And those guys were out of luck too. A real tough break for those looking to stir up trouble. Now, this wasn't some random occurrence. We're talking about a notorious area for pirate action, right between Kenya and the Seychelles. Some experts, like Roger Middleton from Chatham House, say these pirates, often young dudes in a bind, really don't know the scale of who they're messing with. This wasn't the first time pirates dared challenge serious naval power. They've been bold before, squaring off against US and European ships. And despite all the Navy patrols, the waters off East Africa were like a live-action thriller scene. Remember the Maersk, Alabama situation in April 2009? Navy SEALs had to intervene to rescue hostage Richard Phillips. Fast forward a bit, and the USS Nicholas encounter results in catching 5 pirates, sparking a whole debate about how and where to deal with these sea troublemakers. So why all this pirate drama? Well, Somalia's been in chaos, basically a free-for-all at sea. And the USS Nicholas? She's been right in the thick of it, from Gulf War days to rescuing pilots, and now cracking down on piracy. And there's more, like this incident with a Taiwanese fishing vessel, the Jichun Sai 68, possibly facing pirate trouble, adding another layer to this saga. So yeah, piracy near East Africa isn't just some old story. It's happening now, full on, with navies worldwide playing a giant game of catch with these sea rebels. 9. Dai Hong Dan incident. So let me tell you about a crazy sea adventure that seems straight out of what you would call the impossible. But it happened. Get this. The American Navy received a thumbs up from a super unexpected fan, North Korea's news outlet. Yes, you heard that right. Quite the plot twist. It all went down in 2007 with the USS James E Williams, a serious piece of naval hardware. They stumbled upon this intense scene where a North Korean cargo ship named the Dai Hong Dan, not too far from Mogadishu, was under pirate control. These weren't your average pirates. They were actually the crew's supposed protectors, demanding a huge sum to back off, putting everyone in a tight spot. Now, inside the Dai Hong Dan, the real crew was stuck, but not beaten. They managed to send out a distress call. That's when the USS James E Williams popped onto the scene. They caught the SOS and flew a helicopter over to check things out. Back on the ship, the crew was gearing up to take their ship back. They didn't just sit there, they fought back. And while the American helicopter was above, making it clear it was time to give up, the crew took control, ending the chaos after nearly a full day. The skirmish was tough, with the bad guys ending up in a bad state, and the ship's crew had some injuries, which the Americans helped fix up. And here's the kicker. Those pirates were actually supposed to be the good guys working at the dock. Now, they were the ones in hot water, probably not looking forward to what was coming next, especially back home. After all that madness, North Korea's news team gave props to the US, calling it a shining example of fighting the bad guys together. Who could have seen that coming? The high seas turned out to be the stage for some seriously unexpected teamwork. 8. People's Liberation Army Navy plan. All right, get ready for a tale that sounds like it's straight out of a pirate movie, only it's real stuff from recent times. So back in March 2017, everyone was talking about how Somali pirates, those famous sea robbers, were back in action, taking over a big fuel ship. This news shook things up and got people worried about piracy again, especially around the Western Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. The Chinese Navy, also known as the People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN, steps onto the scene. These folks have been on a roll, not just sailing around, but also setting up a base in Djibouti, aiming to crush the pirate threat. Then comes a real-life action sequence. The OS-35, a ship under Tuvalu's flag, gets into trouble with pirates trying to claim it. The Chinese Navy jumps into hero mode, joining forces with the Indian Navy to save the day. Picture the Chinese team boarding the ship, with the Indians helping from the sky and keeping the lines of communication open. Back in China, the news is all about praising the plan, calling them the heroes of the high seas. But not everyone's taking that at face value. Some in the Western media are giving the side eye, wondering if China's got other plans, thinking maybe it's about more than just stopping pirates, especially with all the tension in the South China Sea. Amid all this, there's talk of the Chinese Navy stepping up big time, handling business with pirates in another incident, making it clear they're not just there for a photo op. Since around 2015, the Chinese Navy's been showing up all over the place, from helping out in Yemen to protecting ships from pirates. But even with these brave acts, some people can't help but be a bit suspicious. With China showing its naval strength, folks are left guessing about the full story behind their actions on the high seas. 7. The USS Mason, DDG-87. In 2023, there's this ship called the MV Central Park, flying under the Liberian flag, but with an Israeli businessman involved, getting into serious trouble. The troublemakers, Somali pirates, hitting the scene again in the infamous Gulf of Aden. Now, the USS Mason, DDG-87, which is like the Navy's big-time protector of the seas, comes rushing in to stop these pirates from making a break for Yemen. Here's the kicker. The folks they caught were Somali, adding a whole new twist to the tale, as mentioned by Brig General Patrick Ryder from the Pentagon, retired Rear ADM. Terry McKnight, who knows his stuff about anti-piracy, tells us that these Somali pirates are pretty experienced. But then something totally unexpected happens. A missile from Yemen just after the Mason steps in. It sends a shiver down everyone's spine, making people wonder what's really going on. Maritime pro Salma Coliano points to the strange timing of the attack on the Central Park, hinting that its Israeli connections might have made it a target in this deep-sea drama. It's like peeling back the layers of a mystery novel, trying to figure out who's really behind all this. This isn't just about a pirate attack, it's a glimpse into a huge game of global politics, with Somali refugees, Yemeni fighters, and the strategic sea lanes of the Gulf of Aden all playing their parts. The US is still trying to figure out how to deal with these New Age pirates, reminding us of the Maersk, Alabama incident. And then there's China, keeping its cool with ships in the area, but not getting involved, following a not-my-problem approach. This attitude kind of showcases the complex web of who's who in the world of maritime security, with everyone from the International Anti-Piracy Task Force 151 to the big naval players trying to navigate these tricky waters. 6. Russia Navy. So, in May 2010, the Russian Navy's ship, Marshal Shaposhnikov, swooped in like a hero from the sea, pulling off an epic rescue of the Novoship oil tanker Moscow University and its crew of 23 from Somali pirates, far from Somalia's coast. This ship was loaded with a massive amount of oil, headed for China, and guess what? They managed to keep every bit of that oil safe. No spill or fire, nothing, all during this edge-of-your-seat rescue. The Russian Navy was no stranger to dealing with pirates. Back in 2009, their ship Peter the Great caught 10 Somali pirates, took their boats and gear, and handed them over in Yemen. That year, another ship, Admiral Panteleiev, also got in on the pirate hunting action, nabbing 29 pirates and even chasing away another pirate boat later on. Things got real with the Russian Navy's approach to pirates. After seeing too many pirates slip through the cracks, they got super strict. During the Moscow University situation, the crew smartly shut down the ship and hid in a safe room, totally outsmarting the pirates and dodging any movie-like hostage drama. And here's a twist. A US Navy helicopter got involved, sneaking a peek at the tanker at night to check on the crew before the Russian commandos made their move at 3 a.m., quickly catching the pirates. Now, despite some side-eye from the EU for Russia going it alone in risky waters, the Russian Navy got some serious kudos, especially the ship's captain, Yuri Tolchinsky, who led the operation like a boss, with the Navy's full force behind him. After the dust settled, Russian leaders were pretty proud of their Navy's show of strength, and even the European naval folks, despite their earlier grumbles, had to admit it was a top-notch job, showing that out on the open sea, sometimes you've got to go big or go home. 5. Indonesian Navy. So, let's rewind to 2011, a year that turned the ocean near Somalia into a scene straight out of an action-packed movie. The Sinar Kudus, a huge bulk carrier, was on its way to Rotterdam when, suddenly, Somali pirates jumped in, kicking off a super tense situation. This wasn't just any hijacking, it was a major challenge for Indonesia. The Indonesian Armed Forces, TNI, stepped up big time in their largest military move in 30 years, getting ready for a serious face-off with the pirates. Meanwhile, the company owning the ship, Samudera Shipping Line, ended up paying a giant $3 million to free the 20 crew members. But there's more to the story. Indonesian commandos got in the mix and took down 4 pirates in a tough fight, proving Indonesia wasn't playing around. Imagine being in those waters without much help from above and limited info, but the Indonesian team, with their ships, helicopters and soldiers, was all set to jump into the fray. The ordeal of the Sinar Kudus, lasting 46 days, was like something from a thriller movie, with the pirates treating this ship, loaded with expensive metal, as a big score. Pressured by the situation, they stayed close to shore, surrounded by other ships they'd captured. Back on land, Indonesian officials, including big names like David Batubara and Joko Suyanto, were deep in this intense diplomatic game, mixing strong words with military action. They had ships ready near Somalia, always hinting they might just go full-on if the negotiations failed. As the pressure mounted, with pirates demanding even more money, Indonesia held firm. And guess what? Their tough stance worked. They managed to lower the ransom and get the crew and their cargo released. This whole event shined a light on Indonesia, showing its determination in standing up to sea thieves and marking its place in the worldwide battle to keep shipping lanes safe from pirate threats. 4. The Royal Navy. So let me tell you about this wild incident from January 2012. A NATO team with the tough RFA Fort Victoria and the alert USS Carney got wind of a shady boat near Somalia and decided it was time to show the pirates they meant business. The atmosphere was electric as a Royal Navy Lynx Mark 8 helicopter, packed with keen-eyed Royal Marines snipers, flew over, trying to get the suspicious boat to give up peacefully. But the folks on the boat weren't having it, pushing the Royal Marines to kick things up a notch and rush in on speedboats. Here's the climax. They nabbed 13 Somali pirates, armed and caught in the act. Philip Hammond, the Defense Secretary back then, praised this big time, saying it showed the UK's naval strength and how they keep the sea lanes open for business. The man behind the curtain, Captain Jerry Northwood of the RFA Fort Victoria, was leading this precision move against a well-known pirate group. This operation was huge, sending a loud message that pirate trouble on the Indian Ocean's shipping paths was on its way out. Captain James Sladen, heading the Fleet Standby Rifle Squadron, shared the intense moments of the mission. The rush as they moved in, seeing the pirates right there, totally ignoring the warnings. But with quick and decisive action, the Marines took the pirates down, proving the operation wasn't just for show. It was a serious step in cleaning up those dangerous waters. 3. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, JMSDF. So, back in June 2016, Japan really made waves on the global scene. They decided to step up big time in fighting pirates around the Gulf of Yemen and Somalia. Gen Nakatani, the guy in charge of Japan's defense, made this call with the big guns at their National Security Council and Cabinet. It was all part of their Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's plan, showing Japan as a peacekeeper in Africa's tricky waters, even though some folks weren't too happy about it. Since 2009, Japan's Navy, known as the JMSDF, has been a key player in this international group called Combined Task Force 151, showing Japan's dedication to keeping the seas safe. And get this, from June 2015, Rear Admiral Hiroshi Ito led the charge, becoming the first Japanese naval officer to command such a mixed bag of ships since World War II. Japan didn't just stop there. They updated their laws to give their navy more power to protect not just their own ships, but others from pirate attacks. The numbers are pretty wild. 728 counter-piracy missions, ensuring over 3,800 ships passed safely since 2009. And they've done over 1,500 patrols and recon missions. On the hardware front, Japan sent out some serious ship power like the JS Udachi and JS Ugiri destroyers, plus 2 aircraft patrolling the skies, all manned by about 400 crew members. These ships and planes are all set to take on pirate threats. Defense Minister Nakatani, looking at how successful they've been, pointed out that pirate attacks dropped to 0 the year before. But he also mentioned that with ongoing poverty in Somalia, there's still a risk of pirates coming back. He's saying it's not just about fighting on the water, it's also about tackling the tough times on land that lead to piracy. 2. South Korean Navy. So let me tell you about this wild scene that went down on the Arabian Sea. It's like something from a movie, but totally real. The Samho Jewelry, a big freighter, was in deep trouble, taken over by Somali pirates. On board were 21 folks, a mix of Burmese, Koreans, and Indonesians, all hoping for a miracle. The buzz was all over when Colonel Lee Bung-woo, a military guy from South Korea, let the world know about this intense face-off. The South Korean Navy commandos, man, they did something out of this world. They jumped into action, and the outcome was hardcore. Pirates captured, and the crew safe, though the captain got hurt in the chaos, but made it through. Now, the leader of South Korea, President Lee Myung-bak, he was like, no way we're letting this slide. He made it crystal clear his country was not going to stand for threats against their people. This all went down miles away from Somalia with the Samho Jewelry, this huge ship that was just going from the UAE to Sri Lanka, suddenly in the spotlight. In the early morning darkness, fueled by the president's orders to do whatever it takes, the South Korean Navy pulled off this epic 5-hour mission. They weren't just saving their own. They were making a big statement against piracy. The president then came out amid a ton of pressure, calling it a massive win, showing the world they were serious about stopping these sea thieves. And this wasn't just a one-time deal. It ties into this bigger deal where countries are really stepping up, patrolling the seas to protect the vital routes that keep global trade moving. And get this, the Samho Jewelry had a sister ship, the Samho Dream, which also faced pirate troubles and got out after a massive ransom was paid. These incidents are like a wake-up call, showing the high stakes of keeping the ocean pathways open and safe from the dangers that are out there. 1. Indian Navy. Let's dive into a real-life pirate story, not the old-school type, but the modern-day real deal. There was this ship, the MV Ruan, flying under the Thrill Seekers flag, right? But then Somali pirates jumped in and took over. Yeah, the ship, belonging to the Bulgarian outfit Navibulga, was suddenly under the control of 35 bold pirates. Sounds like the setup for a major sea clash off the shores of Somalia. The stars of our story are the crew of the Indian Navy's INS Kolkata. These folks are like the superheroes of the ocean. They squared off against these pirate attacks, showing what bravery on the high seas is all about. The Ruan was stuck near Aile, Somalia for ages, becoming almost a pirate base, threatening to kick off even bigger attacks. But hang on, the good guys struck back. The Indian Navy, with all their naval smarts, pulled off this daring rescue mission. They got the pirates to give up and freed all 17 crew members of the Ruan without a scratch on them. This operation got big cheers, highlighting the Indian Navy's power and guts. It wasn't just any rescue, it made a bold statement. Even this UK maritime security group, Ambry, tipped their hats to the mission, wrapping up a tense chapter for the crew. But that's not all. Piracy's been picking up again, like with this ship, the Bangladesh-owned Abdullah, stirring the pot, showing how these pirate actions are all linked up. This comeback of piracy isn't just a small blip, it's a big deal, especially when the world's navies are busy with other stuff, like dealing with the Houthis in Yemen. This has kind of taken their eye off the Somali pirate ball, sparking a call for more ships on the lookout. Looking back to the late 2000s peak piracy times, and now those pirate threats are still around, putting safe sailing at risk. But the Indian Navy, they're standing strong, protecting the seas. Their recent win, saving the Lila Norfolk, just adds to their rep as the ocean's guardians. In this huge, mysterious ocean where danger and beauty mix, India's Navy is out there holding the line in this never-ending battle for maritime security. We've been chatting about those wild sea battles where Somali pirates go head-to-head with massive Navy ships, right? I'm super curious to hear what you think about these high-octane sea face-offs. Why not drop your thoughts in the comments? Let's get a conversation going. These real-deal sea fights really make us think differently about strength and tactics on the ocean waves, huh?